We and my friends are going to explain about Chapter 14 ISO 9000 and Total Quality, the relationship. Myself, I'm Arvind Reddy. I'll be explaining what is an ISO and the 8 principles. The main objective of this chapter is to understand ISO 9000 quality management system, benefits and origins of ISO, comparison between ISO and total quality management, whereas more in brief, we go through the 8 principles of ISO and you can know about how the ISO 9000 applied for the organization. What is an ISO? ISO is an international standard organization where it is established in 1947, located at Switzerland and consists of all the members of 120 nations, and it defines and explains about the ISO 9000 family, and where ISO is applicable for all organizations like banking sectors, finance, education, computing, electronics, all different gadgets where we use in our regular life. ISO 9000, the International Standards for Quality Management System. ISO 9000, it is the trust of ISO 9000 is to complement AQMS standard requirements, and ISO 9000 is about standardizing organizations everywhere, whereas international standards are applicable for all organizations, whether public sector or private sector. Is it small or big, whichever the organization it is, all the organizations, the ISO 9000 is applicable, and the quality management system too. The main aim is to improve customer satisfaction, achieve continuous improvement, yeah, make an improvement in the products and services, and comply the regulatory requirements. Here are the 8 principles which the ISO follows: customer focus, leadership, involvement of people, process approach, system approach to management, continual improvement, factual approach of decision making, mutual definition, benefit supplier relationship. These are the main principles which are followed by ISO 9000, and where it focuses mainly on on all the objects, and under the main thing, it focuses on customer needs, requirements and expectations, and involves all the people of the organization. Operating principle. This plan, do, check, act is now the most operating principle of ISO management system. Its function is to operate in ever-ending loop. This was introduced by Dr. Edward Deming to Japanese in 1950, as it stood up as a seed for Japanese quality revolution, and its function is to continually improve product, service, process, and system. Where, as it's shown in the flowchart, it goes with plan, where we need to have a plan, do, where need to put your plan and check where you need to put the plan and check whether the plan is suitable for the product or the organization, and finally the act. It goes in a cyclic flow, where this is the one of the main principle operating by ISO 9000. And the main objectives are ensure the product or service provided are fit for the intended purpose, customer focus, and continual improvement. How ISO 9000 is applied to organization. These are the 5 steps how ISO 9000 is applied to all the organizations. ISO 9000 Quality Management System. A definition. It is It is a combination of all the organization policies, procedures, plans, resource, processes, and delineations of responsibilities and authorities for customer satisfaction and organization objects. When these policies, procedure plans, and so forth are taken together, they define how the organization works and how quality is managed. These are the different statements how the quality or the product of the organization is checked. This is the authority of certification and registration, whereas International Aggregate Forum, where all the aggregate bodies, industrial representatives, and other stakeholders come together and check the quality of products or organization and make a decision. Then the third step comes in certification of the products and organization done, and then the organization seeks for the registration. This is the cycle how the organization flows up. Further, my friends will be explaining the rest of the chapter.
Trina, and from here on, I'll be going to take it over. Benefits of ISO 9001 and industry-specific applications. ISO 9001 is generic and can be applied to any public or private organizations. But some industries have developed industry-specific versions of ISO 9001. The main reason for developing the industry-specific versions is because the training and deploying audits with industry-specific knowledge individuals can be better than with ISO generics. Also, the audits can be more accurate in terms of a standard of given industry. These are the widely used industry-specific applications of ISO 9001. Ticket, it was developed by UK, trade of IT industry, AS 9000 for aerospace industry, PS 9000 for pharmaceutical packing industry, TL 9000 for technological communication industry, ISO 13485 for medical industry, TS 16949 for automotive industry, and TS 29001 for petroleum, petrochemical, and natural gas industry. Organization registration to ISO 9001. So any organization can apply the ISO guidelines to improve the quality of the product or service without seeking for the registration. However, the organization which has registered with ISO has a greater privilege of having the credibility in the market. Let's say there are two companies manufacturing same product following the ISO guidelines, but the company which is having the ISO certificate has more credibility in the market and has higher demand. So ISO certificate gives more credibility in the market. Also, the registered organization should have an independent third-party organization who continuously observes in order to maintain the ISO 9001 certificate. Organization should tell the register specifically what it is going to do and how it is going to do, and the organization must do it in order to retain the registration. Steps for organization registration. So these are the steps followed for any organization to register for ISO 9001 certificate. First, initially, the organization should develop a quality manual uh, describing which product they are going to improve the quality. Procedures. It has to mention the process and the procedures which they are adopting in order to gain the uh, quality. The top management should align with the quality manual and the procedures given. Also, the customer requirements are to be taken into consideration while preparing the quality manual and the procedures. Also, the organization should hire accredited registered company to examine the quality manual and procedures and verify whether if that is going to give a proper result or not. Also, once they have examined and given the assurance, the organization should conduct internal audits and check if the quality guidelines are met or not. Periodically, audits by outside organization to be done and verify if the quality is maintained. If it is not maintained properly, the organizations certificate will be terminated. Benefits of ISO 9000. ISO registration benefits organization by improving customer satisfaction, cost, and risk management. Customers have increased trust in ISO certified products, and also the price is more competitive as the waste is regulated by following ISO methodology. Origin of ISO. ISO and total quality management were the concepts which were developed independently to each other. Quality management grew out in Japan in World War II, whereas ISO 9000 was developed in response to harmonize different standards for different nations to a single organization. ISO, International Organization of Standards, the World Federalization of Nation Standard, was organized and developed from 188 companies together, having 166 committee members. The ISO 9000 was developed by international teams that included American National Standard Institute. The first version of ISO was released in 1987. Compared to scope of ISO 9000 and total quality management, ISO 9000 TQM are relatable but not interchangeable. The ISO focuses mainly on the product service quality, whereas the TQM focus on the overall organization development. TQM also means that the management is responsible for fulfilling the organization vision. The difference between TQ and ISO is the degree to which the individuals are involved in the organization. Here we can see there are the different characteristics ISO and TQM are needed. Where ISO needs customer focus, scientific approach to problem solving, continual process and product improvement, education and training intensive, and unity of purpose. Whereas TQM has all. In order to follow TQM, an organization should have all-round development. TQ, as we saw in the earlier characteristics, ISO is a subset of TQM because all the characters of ISO are in TQM. ISO 9000 can be implemented in non-TQM environment as well. So although non-TQM environment as well, because even when organization is not following the TQM guidelines, if it is adopting for ISO, it can get a ISO certificates, which improves the quality of the product and also it gains the credibility. ISO can be implemented in traditional environment. Traditional environment is where any organization is following the old methodologies. By implementing ISO 9000, it can improve its quality standards. But if ISO is not improved properly, it may go into the losses. ISO can be redundant in TQM environment as well. Although there are organizations which are following TQM, ISO 9000 is an add-on benefit of credibility to that organization. ISO 9000 and TQM are not in competition because both ISO 9000 and TQM support each other and help for the development of the organization. Thank you. From here on, my friend Shekhar will continue.
So myself, I'm Shekhar Yadav Mari. I'm going to explain my thought. So management endorsement for registration to ISO 9001. It is important for an organization to be certified by the ISO, as it helps the company to experience a rapid increase in its productivity, and it's also impact the resource procurement in positive ways. Moreover, the company grows on international level with the ISO certifications. So an increase in efficiency of company fosters innovations and operational growth. Also, the increase in productivity will help the company to attain competitive advantage. And the next slide, establishing an alignment of total quality management and ISO 9000. Since the ISO and total quality management seeks to accomplish same goals and objectives, it can be stated that both of these are competitive for increasing the organizational efficiency and focusing on attaining maximum customers focus and continuous improvement in the existing operations. Moreover, they both focus on the 6 quality management principles, which are incorporated by the standard and aim to make listed company more competitive in the market segment. Therefore, aligning ISO and TQM can highly beneficial for particular organization. To the next slide. Future scope of ISO 9000. In this, ISO 9000 will carry on set to the basis of the formation of ISO standards. These standards are continuously forging ahead in a standardized format and are becoming common for organization as the benefit offered by the same or desired every firm. Therefore, the future of ISO anticipated to the growing, and it can be concluded that is the most suitable implement for a company to order increase its performance and effectiveness in the process. And the next slide, ISO updates and versions. In this ISO updates and versions, there are the four types of updates and versions we can discuss. In this, the first ever version of ISO achieved development and improvement in various fields of an organizations, which is why I need of updating. It further was seen, and the second version of the same launched. The third version of completion of 9001 and 9002, 9003, which promised an environment in the organizational efficiency by offering performance materials. And the next one also, the next slide, ISO updates and versions. In this, the fourth update, which launched in 2008, offered a smooth conduction of operation and communication in different departments of company and added an easy way to achieve a common objective by helping identify the issues and leading to the development of products and services ordered by the company. In 2015, the latest version released in 2015 helps in aligning the business strategies with product standards, which why it is considered to be highly compatible for organization to increase the performance. It can be concluded that the implementation of ISO 9000 can help a company in various aspects, and the aspiration given by the standards should be meet an organization aiming to the registration in the ISO. And these are the next slide. These are the reference we are followed by and gathered. And thank you for the giving this opportunity. Thank you.